Hi, it's Kathleen. Welcome to Level Up Your English with Kathleen Elise. So today is our noontime live, and I actually realized that I probably should clarify this can be a difficult concept. When I say I go live midnight on Monday, that means that the midnight episode is before the noon one. So many people have been asking me, they say, oh, I missed it because I went you had the noon one and then I went to the midnight one. But that's actually as soon as the clock turns to 12, so 11:59 p.m. in the time frame is the very last minute of Monday. So once you hit 12, the 12 o'clock hour, it then turns into AM, which is on Tuesday. So if you want to join me on Monday's midnight one, it's it's at midnight. So Sunday night hits midnight. That's Monday. So that's the one. That's when I go live. Just to clarify that. So I hope you've all had a great day, a great weekend, and are ready to learn a few things. So again, let me just remind you that the reason I do this at the 12 o'clock hour, the noon and the midnight hour, is so that people, wherever you are in the world, you can come and learn at a time that's as close to convenient for you as I could make it. So that way I'm trying to do it during your lunchtime or as close to that as I can, the lunch or the beginning or the middle of your day before work or when you're not working, so that you don't have to take any more time out of your day. And this can be an easy, relaxing thing, but still it can get your questions answered and it can just fit into your day and not be a big strain on you. So, hi, here we are. So, today we're going to talk about laying the groundwork for your being able to correctly pronounce the sounds of English. Because you have to remember that language is started as a verbal form of communication. And so you're speaking, whatever language you're speaking, you're creating sounds with your mouth, your vocal cords, etc., that represent certain ideas. And so therefore, when you put different sounds together in a particular order or using intonation and the tone and the inflection and all the other things that make up speaking a language, that's how you communicate. That's the basic, that's how you do it. And so if you can't produce the sounds correctly, then you're never going to be able to communicate. People won't understand you. And I mentioned in the live this morning that, language, each community, however big or small that community happens to be, has developed their own set of sounds and their own rules for those sounds, their own patterns and rhythms and all that other stuff I mentioned for these particular sounds. And these particular sounds in this area, in this community, represent certain ideas, certain feelings, what have you. When you go to another area, another community that might not have as much contact with this one, they developed their sounds and meanings for those sounds differently. So they have different sounds and different meanings associated with those sounds. So what learning a language is all about, it's about learning this new set of sounds. So if you're here and you've grown up knowing that this is how you communicate, that these sounds say what you need to say and express what you need to feel, or express what you feel, then you now have to learn all of these other sounds, and then somehow, and what those sounds mean, and then somehow connect them to the sounds you're familiar with so that you can communicate with this new set of sounds. So the best way that I found for me, particularly, but this is an exercise. All of these exercises are things that I do myself when I'm learning a language, and these are exercises I give my students. And I have had great results with these, and my students have given me great feedback on it. So the first thing you need to do, because you're trying to understand the sounds and how they relate, is to watch when someone's speaking to you, or you're seeing something on video, television, what have you. Watch the mouth, watch what that person does with their mouth. If you can see the tongue, check out the jaw, the shape of the mouth, everything you can observe. Watch what they do and listen to the sound that all of this is producing. Okay, so on Instagram, I've been I've been having morning meetings, and many of the meetings will include how to pronounce a particular letter, or a particular sound, I should say. So watch those. I will be uploading them here, but they're not there yet. So check them out on my Instagram channel, or profile, I should say. So, so watch and listen, and then try to do it yourself. Okay, and you want to do it. You want to do this when you've got the person in front of you or on the screen. But then also do it with just the audio, and practice, once you have it down visually, then do it with just the audio and practice reproducing those sounds, remembering what you're supposed to do here and with your vocal cords, and where the sound is coming from. Like I mentioned, I think last week, that there are some languages where it's all in the nasal cavity, and others that don't go there at all, and it's all in the vocal cords, or just the air that passes, the way you send the air through your mouth. And others are a good mix. So you have to figure all that out too. So watch live people do it, and watch it on video, and listen as you're seeing, so you can see how it all works together. Then I want you to focus on repeating them, reproducing the mechanics of the sound, and therefore the sound. How closely can you work these mechanics to get that sound correctly? So, and then the second step is to record yourself, watch it back, and then make the changes that you need to make. So one of the things I do is I focus first when I'm listening and when I'm watching during my observation phase, is I will watch real conversations. I haven't gotten to the news yet. In my Korean studies, I haven't gotten to the news yet because it's too much for me right now, but I'll watch interviews mostly with people speaking Korean, native Koreans, or people from other languages who have become truly fluent in Korean. And I will watch those interviews, and then I will do my practicing and do the best I can. And then I will record myself saying those things, or with repeating those interviews or whatever it is I was watching. And then I'll use my phone, I'll record myself on my phone, and then I'll hold the phone up side by side with the interview and see how I did. And you stop and listen and go back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? Or, oh, wow, I did it. That was, I think that's awesome. So once you get into that point where you've observed and you've practiced, you've done what you can do, then you've recorded and you've played it side by side. Another thing to do is record it just your voice as well. So do the video, but also do just your voice so that you can, again, you can then focus on, is that sound the sound they're making? And then you can say, oh, yes, it is, or no, and make adjustments. So, and the other part of recording yourself is I want you to record yourself, not only get a hold of the transcript or somehow write down what's going on with that interview so you can reproduce that, but also just record yourself talking. Like I'm talking to you now. Just record yourself talking on video and then also audio. But then the next thing I want you to do, not but, period. The next thing I want you to do is record those same things just with audio. Again, sorry, yes, do that. But what I want you to do is just talk like I'm talking to you now. I lost my train of thought. That happens too often these days. But anyway, so just talk, do an unscripted recording of yourself. And then also find reading material. If you're at the point where you can read English, then find yourself some reading material. Again, I like to do articles in more everyday conversation, everyday language rather than fiction or comic books, but work those in once you get comfortable. And again, listen, record yourself and then go back and listen to yourself. Is that really how? Because you need to hear your voice. Everybody is so shocked when they hear their own voice on tape. So by doing these recordings, you're going to see how people see you. You're watching your video and you can be the native speaker looking at this person who's learning English, and you can say, did I understand that person? Or, what's going on with the communication thing? And then you also, by doing the audio recordings, you hear how you sound to other people. So this is critical if you want to make your pronunciation easy and to see progress quickly. So these are critical. So and again, I have no objections to you reading novels as you're reading passages. Feel free. I feel that it's more beneficial to you if you do the real life conversations first, the real life language first, through interviews or magazine articles or news, things like that, and then move on. Because if you're going to be communicating with people and emails, read your emails out loud, record them, record yourself reading them. If you're in the business world, which so many of us are, then this is going to help you immensely in the office, on your job. Read your emails and record yourself reading those emails. And what were some of the other things? Oh, recipes too. Because not only are you going to learn the rhythm of the instructions and how that works, you'll be able to learn a new dish in English. You'll be able to find a regional cookbook at your library and work through the recipes in English. And you can even then record yourself. You could record your own little cooking show if you wanted. And then you'll be able to watch cooking shows because you'll be familiar with the process and how English speaking cultures go through their recipes and manage that. So anyway, um, so these are things that I have found to be highly effective in setting yourself up with a solid foundation of the sounds of the English language, and also adding that whole cultural mix to it. So the third one we want to talk about is practice your sounds in the real world. So and when you do this, you need to be thinking in English. I can never say this often enough. Because again, if you try, and this is actually, I was studying my Korean yesterday, and for my break, when I was eating my lunch, I put on a Korean teacher had done a live, and he was explaining that with the English sentence structure and the Korean sentence structure are very different animals. So English is your basic structure is you have your subject, you have your verb, and then you have the object. So you have the person that the sentence is about, around which everything is happening. And then you have the thing that is being done, the action there, which is the verb. And then you have the recipient of the action or the result of the action. So, and you can make a complete sentence in English using that structure. In Korean, it was explained that their structure is the subject and then the object and then the verb at the end. But there's all sorts of other parts to the sentence that tell you what you're talking about, what is the topic. There's um, bits of the sentence that tell you where that this is a place, and another type of thing that tells the hierarchical level of the person that you're talking to. So they call them honorifics. So like we have ma'am and sir, I think are really, or as everyday signs of respect, which as Americans, we don't really use that often. Or you have the title, the person's title. So if they're a senator, if they're, teacher, if they're a doctor, or, you have that title. But other than that, we don't use that. So we don't need that in our sentences. So if I were to, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff in the Korean language, the sentence structure, that if you don't have it, nobody's going to know what you're talking about. They might get a rough idea, but it's not going to make sense to them. So if someone from Korea is trying to speak in English using their sentence structure, we'll have no idea what they're saying. And if I went to say something in Korean using the English sentence structure, they will have no idea what I'm saying. So you have to think in the language that you're trying to speak. So that was another tangent, but it's an important one to remember, because when you go to practice, take this step and practice it in the real world, you have to think in English. Okay. So get used to it. Just know that you have to do that. And now I hope you understand why you have to do that. So then, and I had mentioned in one of the morning meetings, which you'll see when you check out Instagram, is that take little field trips. So my example was go to the grocery store. The next time you have to go to the grocery store, give yourself the challenge to do everything in English, like in your mind. Don't even think in your in your native language. Think everything in English. If you're you're parking in the parking lot, do all of this in English. Oh, there's my parking space. There's the carriage corral. There's the front door. All sorts of things like that. So not only are you going to be in your head activating the real world language and sentence structures and things like that, but you'll be solidifying your vocabulary in your brain. So, and you're going to be putting tangible things to the language that you're using. And if you're afraid to say anything, like you, again, to yourself, when you go down the in the produce section where all the vegetables and fruits are, start naming the fruits. And if you don't know what it is, look it up on the sign and try to practice it. Try to say it to yourself. And then you can go home and check it out online and say, oh, did I say that right? So make little field trips out of your everyday routines and use those opportunities to really practice your English. And the second thing I want you to do is, it's going to be hard at first, and I'll give you an example. But as soon as you start doing it, you'll find, for the most part, and particularly depending on what part of the country you're in, some areas of the country are far more welcoming and friendly than others. But like in the Northeast, where I am, the Boston area, um, people think that Bostonians are like really closed off and they're not friendly. But what it really is, and I read this in a someone's memoir, a writer from the her father was a writer. She was a newscaster around the 1950s, I think. And she was remembering, her father and the time frame, and it was explained to her that people in New England, particularly Boston, we keep our eyes down on the ground because we don't trust. It takes us a while to trust our surroundings, the people around us. And so, but also it's done because we don't want to get hurt. So if we don't look at you, then you can't hurt us, and I'm not sure where that came from, but that's what was explained in the book. And so that really does make a lot of sense, because all my time in various offices, people would be the only two people in a hallway, and we would look down and we would be afraid to even say hello. As soon as we did, so I challenged myself to just do it and say hello, and I noticed that people automatically, as soon as they were acknowledged in a friendly way, they just opened up and lit up and chatted away. So don't worry, just say hello. And if you're passing someone in the aisle, and if they don't respond, that's okay. You tried it, you stepped out, you did it. So, and you challenged yourself. You step beyond your those boundaries of your safety zone. You stepped out, and I'll bet you 9 chances out of 10, well, depending, we'll say 8 chances out of 10, you're going to get a positive response. And like I said, if you don't, it's okay. It's not personal. So anyway, and there was just this one time, and so here's my example that I've lived through and why I feel it's so important, is that when I was in university, a I spent a semester in Austria, but their term started a month after ours, so we still had to be going to classes. So we took language classes in Munich, and I was trying to again challenge myself and go out by myself. And I took my map and I did a little section of Munich, and I ended up terribly lost, and silly me wore heels. I was in agony, so I just found a bench. It turned out to be the Englischer Garten, which I had been looking for and didn't know I found it. But I just sat down on a bench and was just relaxing and letting my feet rest for a minute. And this elderly woman came up to me. She sat right down next to me, which I like my personal space. So I was a little thrown off, but she just started speaking to me. She's tried out her English. And because clearly I I have a certain culture stamped on my face. Um, and so she just started speaking to me in English, and I responded to her in German, and she was like, she lit up. So we decided that we would help each other. So I would only speak to her in German, and she would only speak to me in English, and we would correct each other's mistakes. So it was a wonderful afternoon, all because, well, first of all, that woman stepped out to me to try her little bit of English that she knew, and I then responded with my bit of German. So you'll end up having making wonderful connections there. So just do that, okay? Promise me. All right. And then the fourth thing that I want you to do is practice the different sounds of English in isolation. So just practice, take some quality time, even if it's 5 minutes. As you're brushing your hair, combing your hair in the morning, take that time to isolate certain sounds. So we'll just use the sound of T, um, and just practice that sound. So the example I've been giving is, so when you're making the sound of the T, your tongue is up off of the roof of your mouth. It's not really touching, the sides of your teeth or anything, but you want just the tip of your tongue to hit right where, just below where your teeth and your gums meet. And you just want to, you're not going to use your vocal cords. It's just air. And you're just going to go, t, 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 t. So it's t, 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 t. So do that while you're combing your hair. And then when you're doing something else, pick another sound. If you're pouring milk into your coffee or tea or whatever you have, try the TH sound. There's a voiced and an unvoiced. So the unvoiced is, you're just putting your tongue between your teeth. I'm exaggerating it a little bit just so you can see. And you're just letting the air out over your tongue. You're pouring your tea, your coffee, whatever. Just practice that. You go to do something else, try the voiced TH. It's the same motion, you're just now activating your vocal cords. So those are simple things that you can do that are going to create that muscle memory, that brain mouth connection that is going to help you produce these sounds automatically now. So as soon as you click into thinking in English, these are the sounds that you're going to be making. You won't have to think it through, okay? You won't have to say, okay, I have to think in English now, because you're just doing that because you've been doing these exercises all along. So, and then just finally, I know I wanted to keep it the half an hour, so I'll go like a minute over, but the other thing you want to do is practice your transitions. So what's the one I had here? So, okay, so there's two. They're very similar. One is the transition between the word sold and the word the. So I sold the car. So when you're speaking that fast, a lot of times it comes out with sola. I sold the car. You want to be a little more clear, because there will be times when you need to be more clear, and then other times, if it's a casual conversation, you won't have to be. But you want to be prepared for those times when you're going to need it. So that transition is sold the d, so the d, the. So the D sound, the d, they're pretty close. So your tongue for the D, this right here, that part of your tongue hits that ridge where your gums are. So d, d, d. And the TH comes between your teeth. The. So you just practice that transition. The, the. So practice that transition. Again, as you're just, doing something, watering the plants, whatever it is, practice those, okay? And if you have any transitions, any things like that that you want me to go over and show you an exercise for, let me know in the comments, please, because that's why I'm doing this, okay? All right, so we are over our time. I just want to make sure quickly. Oh, tongue twisters. Look them up online. You'll get hundreds of them that you can use to practice as exercises for that sound isolation. Sally sold seashells by the seashore, so they're perfect. And then that should be it. Yes, and you want to make sure that you're working for accuracy, then you're working for speed. Okay, so remember, obviously I'm fluent in English, but if you notice, I'm a native English speaker, I'm fluent in it. I don't rush through my words. I'm not fluent because I speak quickly. I'm fluent because I make sure that the sounds that are coming out of my mouth, the patterns, the inflections, the tones, all of that, are accurate for the message that I want to give. Okay. Now, I just said wanna. I didn't say want to. I didn't, I wasn't crystal specific on that, but you know what I'm talking about because I'm clear enough. Okay. In this conversation, in another situation, I would need to say want to. Here, wanna is fine. Okay. So I hope this really helped, and I hope I'm giving you enough time to finish out your lunch and just relax and not have to think about anything. But I think, I think this is, I hope this was helpful for you. And another thing I found is that for those transitional sounds, listen to music. Listen to music. Not only will the music help get it in your brain, but it will make it enjoyable for you as well if you find this kind of thing tedious. Music is a great way. But again, remember, music is generally, it's not your formal speech. And a lot of times it's filled with slang, etc. But you still need to know that. So it's going to help you with your fluency. Okay. All right. I think that covers everything for today. I'm really glad you came, and I hope you have a super day. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and put any questions, any comments in the comment section. Okay. All right. You have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time. And don't forget, the midnight session is comes before the noon session. So at 12 a.m. on Monday is just after Sunday. Okay. Not into Tuesday. It's Sunday into Monday. Okay. So try to come to both, but I know you have a life. Have a great day. Bye-bye.